Well, hello, friends, neighbors. John, your whiskey neighbor here. Welcome again to the Nook. It's Sunday, and so normally I shoot samples, but I'm a little low on samples, and so I thought I want to shoot these very affordable blended scotches. Give them a comparison and share some thoughts. So I want to talk about this one. This is Grant's sherry cask finish. Does carry an age stamp, 8 years old. And then this one is Dewar's, part of the Smooth series. Also says 8 years, and it's finished in port. So if you've got any blended scotch, or either one of these, the Grant's or the Dewar's, why don't you pour a little bit, and when we come back, we'll talk Grant's and Dewar's blended scotch. 3, 4. Thanks for staying with me. As I said quickly in the opener, these are both blended scotches. So we'll start with the Grant's, and another big blending house, Grant & Sons. And as a blended scotch, it's going to have some malts in there, some single malts, but it's also going to have some grain whiskeys. This one carries an age stamp. It indicates 8 years old. It also says right on the label that it's finished. Doesn't say for how long, but in Oloroso sherry. It's only 40%, and no doubt it is colored and filtered and all those things that we really'd rather not have, but we'll see how that affects the taste. So if you've got a little bit of this, and it's very affordable in my market, any of this Grant's, why don't you pour a little bit? We'll nose, we'll sit, we'll talk. It is sweet and light. Now, I have been spending some time in some cask strength bourbons lately this week, so I got to give myself a chance to adjust. Definitely lighter, sweeter, vanilla, honey. Very little spice, floral notes, light orchard fruits. Actually, the nose kind of reminds me of an Irish in terms of quite fruity, quite light, and very gentle on the nose. Let's try the palate. Sancha. That palate begins right in the nose. Light orchard fruits, maybe a little more fruit than regular. Sweet, sweet, creamy. And then it starts to fall apart a little bit, even while it's in the mouth for me. It gets a bit metallic, a little bit industrial. I'm not sure what that is, but it's like it's missing some oakiness that I wish it had. It's still, the front flavors are good. Fruity, juicy fruit gum, that kind of flavor. There's really no spicing, and there's no oaking, and there's almost no finish. Let's try another sip. And again, keeping that in my mouth, almost a light sugary note, but a nice sugary note. So very sweet, fruit forward, and not much else going on. If I were to rate this, I was actually a little disappointed. Sometimes I like to find, I'm always hoping to find bargain scotch, bargain whiskey that is also still good, something that I can enjoy. I've clearly tried this for a while. I've had it for a while, hoping it would improve, and it just doesn't for me. And it might for others, because I don't think it's very offensive. Aside from those industrial notes that may or may not be sensitive in your palate the way they are in mine, it ends up being pretty light and pretty fruity, and I think could be enjoyable. For me, it just doesn't have really any character, and there are some of those off notes, so I'm going to keep this at about 3 stars. Let's talk the Dewar's. This is also a blended scotch, so many different single malts in there, many different grain whiskeys in there. Both of these, I think, I don't really know the numbers, but because they're from a high production place, would have a number of different distilleries and casks going on. This is part of the Smooth series, which has been a bit of a gem for me. I really like the Mezcal one, almost guiltily so, if I may. And then the Caribbean one isn't bad. I'm not a super fan, but it's pretty good. And some YouTubers that I respect quite highly have really quite liked the Caribbean one. So I've got some pretty high expectations. Of course, this is the Dewar's Classic. I think they say double aged or double barrel, like, you know, where they also in oak marry their blend, and then they finish this one in port cask. So we'll nose, we'll taste, we'll see what this Dewar's Portuguese Smooth is like. And they another 8-year-old age stamp. It is much fruit sweeter. In this case, I'm getting like a cherry or even a raspberry, like a kind of a jam note. Yeah, coming back to this is just some orchard fruits and almost a little bit of lemon, whereas this is that thicker red fruit. Absolutely. On the nose, I think that'd be very clear. Let's try it on the palate. Slaja. There's more malt characteristic in this one. I've got more cereal, more a little bit of nut grain, little like that thicker malt. And there is a little bit of older oak, or not older, it's 8 years, but wet, damp oak. I'll put it that way. I better try another sip. There's still a very sweet jam, like raspberry jam or maraschino cherry note that kind of hangs around through all of it, which I like on the nose and I'm not a fan of in the palate. But there is more body in this one. There is a little bit of spicing. There is a little bit of damp oak. There is a little more to it. Still young, still kind of grainy, and it fades to sort of a watery near the end as well. So I don't want to oversing this praises, but in comparison, I like this significantly more. Not as much as I like the other two in the Smooth series, and certainly not the Mezcal, although I don't want to rate that too highly and you'll go out there thinking it's a beautiful Scotch. It's not. It's sort of a guilty, cheap Scotch pleasure for me. But this isn't bad. And I think if you're a fan of port finishes, am I getting some chocolates in here? Maybe, but they're not deep and rich. And some of the other things that I get in port, I'm not quite getting here, but it's got a sweet fruit. It's got some spicing and it's got a bit of oak. And, you know, for the pricing, because this is about a $30 Canadian bottle, same with this, they're about the same price. This is good and I'm okay with it. It's really only about a 3.5 stars. Please don't run out again and think it's going to be amazing, but it continues to be a pretty interesting, if you're looking at what it finishes do. I definitely would consider, because they're so affordable, getting a number of the different Smooth series and kind of sipping through, because I think they really express how casking or finishes can really play with what I think is essentially the same core blend. I'm assuming they're finishing in these different casks. So 3.5. I'm really not a fan of this Grant. I'm going to leave it down at the bottom, kind of on that 3-star range. Both very affordable and not really offensive. It's just that neither of them are going to really excite you. And this one really doesn't get off the floor. But it's got some fruit notes going on there that kind of make it interesting. Thanks for joining me this Sunday. I hope you guys are about to have a great work week, or if you're on holiday, I hope you're relaxing with friends and family or just yourself. Maybe a good book. Thanks for joining me. You take care.